I should have known something was wrong when Eva started wearing perfume to work. Not the light floral stuff she'd worn for our entire 8-year marriage, but something heavier, more expensive. Something that screamed, "Notice me," in a way that made my stomach twist every morning as she kissed my cheek goodbye. "You smell different," I told her one Tuesday morning as she adjusted her blazer in our hallway mirror. The blazer was new too. Designer probably cost more than my monthly car payment. Eva smiled, that practiced smile she'd been perfecting lately. "It's called success, Nathan. Maybe you should try it sometime." The comment stung, but I let it slide. Eva had always been ambitious, driven in ways that both attracted and intimidated me. When we met at a marketing conference 5 years ago, she was already climbing the corporate ladder at Pinnacle Solutions. I was just a mid-level IT project manager at a smaller firm, impressed by her confidence and sharp wit. But this was different. This wasn't the Eva who used to stay up late strategizing about campaigns, who'd bounce ideas off me over dinner. This Eva was distant, secretive, and climbing that ladder faster than physics should allow. "Congratulations on the Henderson account, by the way," I said, following her to the kitchen. "That's what, 3 major wins this quarter?" She poured herself coffee in a travel mug I'd never seen before, sleek, black, with PS engraved in gold letters. Pinnacle Solutions, I assumed. 4, actually. Ethan says I'm exceeding all expectations. The way she said his name, Ethan Fielding, her boss, made something cold settle in my chest. There was a warmth there, a familiarity that felt too intimate for a professional relationship. "That's great, honey, really." I meant it, or I tried to. Eva deserved success. She was brilliant, creative, and worked harder than anyone I knew. "Maybe we should celebrate. Dinner at Romano's?" "Can't tonight. Working late again, big presentation tomorrow." She grabbed her keys, another peck on the cheek, and she was gone, leaving behind that heavy perfume and a growing sense of unease I couldn't shake. I stood in our kitchen, surrounded by the life we'd built together, photos from our honeymoon in Italy, the coffee maker we'd bought after our first fight about morning routines, Eva's collection of marketing awards lining the windowsill. Everything looked the same, but something fundamental had shifted. My phone buzzed, a text from my best friend Simon. "Beer tonight? Jenny's working late too. Seems to be going around." Jenny was Simon's wife, also in marketing, though at a different firm. I wondered if their industry was always this demanding, or if something else was keeping our wives at the office until 9 or 10 most nights. "Sure," I texted back. "Murphy's at 7? The rest of my day at Dataflow Solutions dragged. I managed 3 client calls, debugged a server issue that had been plaguing us for weeks, and sat through a mind-numbing budget meeting. Normal stuff, predictable. Unlike my marriage, which felt increasingly like a puzzle with missing pieces. At Murphy's pub, Simon was already nursing a beer when I arrived. He looked tired, older than his 36 years. "Rough day?" I asked, sliding into the booth across from him. "Rough month. Jenny's been different, distant. You know what I mean?" I did know. Too well. Eva, too. She says it's work, all these late nights and weekend meetings. Simon took a long pull from his beer. Jenny got a promotion last month, big one. Went from account coordinator to senior manager in 6 months. Her boss says she's exceptional. That's good though, right? Success is success. Yeah, but... Simon lowered his voice. She's been getting gifts. Expensive ones. Says they're from grateful clients, but Nathan, I've been married to this woman for 4 years. I know when she's lying. A chill ran down my spine. What kind of gifts? Jewelry, clothes, that new car she's driving. She says it's a company lease, but I've never heard of a company giving account managers BMWs. I thought about Eva's new wardrobe, the designer handbags, the sudden influx of work dinners at restaurants I couldn't afford. How had I not connected these dots before? "Maybe we're overthinking this," I said, but the words felt hollow. Maybe they're just having good years. Simon gave me a look that said he wasn't buying it any more than I was. "When's the last time Eva talked to you about work? Really talked like she used to?" I couldn't remember. Lately, when I asked about her day, I got vague responses about meetings and strategy sessions. The Eva who used to dissect every campaign, who'd ask my opinion on presentations, had been replaced by someone who treated me like a roommate she was politely tolerating. "There's a company party next Friday," I said suddenly. "Annual awards thing. Eva invited me. You should go. Pay attention." Simon finished his beer. I'm probably paranoid, but something's not right. Call it instinct. I drove home through the suburbs we'd chosen together 3 years ago, past the park where Eva and I used to jog on Sunday mornings, past the coffee shop where she'd grade presentations while I read the sports section. Everything looked the same, but I felt like I was seeing it all for the first time, or maybe the last time. Eva's car was in the driveway when I got home. Another surprise. She was supposed to be working late. I found her in our bedroom, changing out of her work clothes. She looked startled when I appeared in the doorway. "You're home early," I said. "Meeting got canceled." She avoided eye contact, focusing on hanging up her blouse. A blouse I'd never seen before, silk, probably cost more than my weekly salary. "That's nice. We could grab dinner, maybe watch a movie." "I'm tired, Nathan. Rain check?" She disappeared into the bathroom, and I heard the shower start. I sat on our bed, looking around the room we'd shared for 3 years. Eva's side of the dresser had new jewelry, expensive pieces I'd never seen her wear at home. Her closet, visible through the half-open door, looked like it belonged to someone with twice our household income. I picked up her phone from the nightstand, not to snoop, just moving it to plug in my own charger. The screen lit up with a notification. "Thanks for tonight. You're amazing. M." My hands went cold. M. Ethan. The shower was still running. I set the phone down exactly where I'd found it and walked to the kitchen, my mind racing. "Thanks for tonight." But she'd said the meeting was canceled. She'd been home for less than an hour. I opened a beer and sat at our kitchen table, staring at the photos on the refrigerator. Our wedding day, vacations, Christmas mornings, Eva laughing, genuine and happy, the woman I'd fallen in love with. When she came downstairs 20 minutes later, hair still damp, wearing pajamas that probably cost more than my best suit, I was ready. "How was your day?" I asked, keeping my voice casual. "Fine, busy. You know how it is." "The meeting that got canceled, was that with Ethan?" She paused, just for a second, but I caught it. "No, it was with the Henderson client." "Why?" "Just curious. You've been working so closely with Ethan lately, I figured most of your meetings were with him." "He's my boss, Nathan. Of course we meet regularly." Her tone was defensive now, which only confirmed my growing suspicions. I nodded, took another sip of beer. "The company party on Friday. Will Ethan be there?" "Obviously, he's the VP of marketing." She was getting irritated now, which was interesting. The old Eva would have been happy to talk about work events, about the people she worked with. "Looking forward to meeting him properly. We've only talked briefly at that conference last year." Eva's face went pale. "You don't need to make a big deal about it, Nathan. It's just a work party." "I know, I'm just interested in your world, that's all. We used to talk about everything." She softened slightly. "I know, I'm sorry. Work's been so intense lately. After the party, things should calm down." I smiled and kissed her forehead. "I love you, Eva." "Love you too," she said, but the words felt automatic, rehearsed. That night, I lay awake listening to her breathe beside me, thinking about text messages and expensive gifts and the growing distance between us. Part of me hoped I was wrong, that my suspicions were just paranoia brought on by too many late nights and Simon's theories. But deep down, I already knew the truth. I just wasn't ready to face it yet. The Pinnacle Solutions annual awards ceremony was held at the Grandview Hotel, a gleaming monument to corporate success downtown. Eva had been getting ready for 2 hours, trying on 3 different dresses before settling on a black number that hugged her curves and probably cost more than our mortgage payment. "You look beautiful," I told her, and I meant it. Even with all my suspicions, Eva was still the most stunning woman I'd ever known. "Thank you." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Remember, this is important for my career. Just be yourself, but maybe tone it down a little." Tone it down, as if my existence was somehow embarrassing to her new life. The hotel ballroom was packed with Pinnacle Solutions employees and their spouses. Everyone looked successful, polished, like they'd stepped out of a corporate brochure. I felt underdressed in my best suit, a 3-year-old navy blue that suddenly seemed shabby compared to the designer tuxedos around me. Eva immediately disappeared into the crowd, working the room like the professional she was. I watched her laugh and schmooze, air-kissing colleagues and shaking hands with clients. This was her element, and she was good at it. "You must be Nathan." I turned to find a tall, silver-haired man extending his hand. He was probably in his late 40s, with the kind of confident bearing that screamed executive leadership. His smile was perfect, practiced, and didn't quite reach his eyes. "Ethan Fielding," he said. "Eva's told me so much about you." This was him, the man whose initial was on Eva's phone, whose name she said with that particular warmth. Up close, he was handsome in a generic corporate way. Expensive suit, expensive watch, expensive smile. All good things, I hope, I said, shaking his hand. His grip was firm, probably practiced in a seminar somewhere. Of course. She's very proud of your work in IT. Data flow solutions, right? The fact that he knew where I worked was either impressive attention to detail or something more concerning. That's right, and I'm proud of Eva's success here. She's been doing amazing work. She certainly has? Ethan's eyes found Eva across the room, and I caught something in his expression. A look that lasted just a moment too long, held just a bit too much warmth. She's exceptional, truly gifted. I've always thought so. You're a lucky man, Nathan. There was something in the way he said it, a subtle emphasis that made my skin crawl, like he was talking about something more than professional admiration. Yes, I am. I kept my voice level, friendly. How long have you been working together? About 8 months now, since her promotion to senior account manager. Time flies when you're having... He paused, smiled. When you're having success. 8 months. That lined up perfectly with when Eva started changing, when the late nights and expensive gifts began. Well, I should let you get back to your guests, I said. It was nice meeting you properly. Likewise. We should have dinner sometime. The 4 of us. You, Eva, my wife Vanessa, and myself. That sounds great. But as he walked away, I noticed he didn't immediately seek out his wife. Instead, he made his way toward Eva, who was talking to a group of colleagues near the bar. I watched as he approached, how her face lit up when she saw him, how he placed his hand on the small of her back as he joined the conversation. It was a small gesture, casual enough to seem innocent to anyone not looking for it. But I was looking, and what I saw made my stomach turn. Eva leaned into his touch slightly, unconsciously, the way she used to lean into mine. I needed a drink. At the bar, I ordered a whiskey and tried to process what I was seeing. Maybe I was reading too much into innocent interactions. Maybe the text message had been about work. Maybe I was letting Simon's paranoia infect my own thinking. You look like you need something stronger than whiskey. I turned to find a woman about Eva's age, blonde, elegant, with sharp green eyes that seemed to see everything. I'm sorry? Vanessa Fielding, she said, extending a manicured hand. Ethan's wife. You're Nathan, right? Eva's husband? Ethan's wife. I studied her face, looking for signs of suspicion, of knowledge about what might be happening between our spouses. But her expression was unreadable, politely interested. That's right. Nice to meet you. Likewise, how are you enjoying the party? It's impressive. Eva's company really knows how to celebrate success. Vanessa's smile was sharp. Oh, they certainly do. Ethan has been very invested in celebrating Eva's particular successes lately. There it was, a hint of something beneath the polite surface. I looked at her more carefully, trying to read between the lines. She's been working very hard, I said carefully. I'm sure she has. Long hours, late nights, weekend meetings. Ethan has been putting in quite a bit of overtime himself. We stood there for a moment, 2 people having a conversation about something neither of us wanted to say directly. They make a good team, Vanessa continued, her eyes finding Ethan and Eva across the room. They were still together, still standing just a little too close. Very collaborative. I followed her gaze. As I watched, Ethan leaned down to whisper something in Eva's ear. She laughed, touching his arm briefly before stepping away. But the damage was done. I'd seen the intimacy in the gesture, the familiarity. Yes, I said quietly. They certainly do. Vanessa finished her wine. Well, I should go rescue my husband from work talk. You know how these corporate types can be, always mixing business with pleasure. She walked away, leaving me with the distinct impression that she knew exactly what was happening and was as unhappy about it as I was. The rest of the evening passed in a blur of forced conversations and careful observation. I watched Eva and Ethan cataloging every interaction, every look, every casual touch. By the time we got in the car to go home, I was certain of what I'd suspected for weeks. My wife was having an affair with her boss. That went well, Eva said as we pulled out of the hotel parking garage. You were charming. Ethan really liked you. He seems nice, I lied. His wife was interesting. Eva's hands tightened on the steering wheel. What did you talk about? Nothing much. Work, the party. She mentioned that Ethan has been putting in a lot of overtime lately. We all have. It's been a busy quarter. I nodded, staring out the window at the city lights. Eva, can I ask you something? Of course. Are you happy? With us, I mean. With our marriage. She was quiet for a long moment. That's a strange question. Is it? We barely talk anymore. You're always at work, always tired when you get home. I feel like we're becoming strangers. I'm building a career, Nathan. This is what success looks like. I thought you'd be proud of me." "I am proud of you, but I miss you. I miss us." She pulled into our driveway and turned off the engine. In the dim light from the street lamp, her face was unreadable. "Things will get better," she said finally. "After this next quarter, when I get settled in the new role." "What new role?" She looked startled, like she'd said something she hadn't meant to. "Nothing's official yet. Just possibilities Ethan and I have been discussing." "Ethan and I, not the company or management. Ethan and I." "That's great, honey. I hope it works out." We went inside, got ready for bed in our usual routine, but as Eva fell asleep beside me, I lay awake planning. I needed proof, real evidence of what was happening. I needed to know for certain before I decided what to do about it. I thought about Vanessa Fielding's knowing looks, about Ethan's possessive hand on Eva's back, about the expensive gifts and late-night text messages. All circumstantial, but adding up to a picture I could no longer ignore. My marriage was over. I just needed to decide how it was going to end. I hired a private investigator on Monday morning. His name was Pete Kowalski, a former police detective who specialized in domestic cases. His office was in a strip mall between a dry cleaner and a tax preparation service, which somehow made the whole thing feel more real and more sordid at the same time. "Standard adultery investigation runs about $1,500, Pete said, sliding a contract across his desk. He was a big man, probably in his 50s, with a kind of world-weary expression that suggested he'd seen everything at least twice. Photos, documentation, timeline of activities. Usually takes about 2 weeks to get what you need." "What exactly do you need?" "Proof. Hotel receipts, photographs of them together in compromising situations, documented patterns of behavior, stuff that'll hold up in divorce court if it comes to that." Divorce court. The words hit me like a physical blow, even though I'd been thinking about this possibility for days. "How long have you suspected?" Pete asked, not unkindly. "A few months, really, but it's been building for almost a year. New clothes, expensive gifts she can't explain, working late constantly, being secretive about her phone." Pete nodded. "Classic signs." "What's the other party's name?" "Ethan Fielding. He's her boss at Pinnacle Solutions." "Married?" "Yes. Wife's name is Vanessa." Pete made notes. "Kids involved? Yours, I mean." "No kids." That had been a source of tension between Eva and me for the past 2 years. She wanted to wait until her career was more established. Now I wondered if there were other reasons. "That'll make things cleaner if this goes bad. What's your wife's schedule like?" I gave him Eva's routine. The late nights, the weekend meetings, the business trips that had become more frequent lately. Pete listened, occasionally asking clarifying questions, building a picture of my wife's double life. "I'll start surveillance tomorrow," he said. "In the meantime, try to act normal. Don't confront her, don't let on that you suspect anything. These things work better when the subjects think they're being careful." I signed the contract and wrote a check, officially beginning the end of my marriage. The next 2 weeks were torture. I went to work, came home, made dinner, watched TV with Eva, and pretended everything was normal while Pete Kowalski documented my wife's affair. Eva seemed oblivious to my internal turmoil, caught up in her own drama of sneaking around and lying to my face. "Working late again tonight," she said on Thursday, the same day Pete had texted me photos of Eva and Ethan entering the Riverside Hotel at 2:30 p.m. "Big project?" I asked, looking up from my laptop. "The Morrison account. Ethan wants to make sure we get the presentation perfect." Ethan wants. Everything was about what Ethan wanted lately. "You've been putting in a lot of hours on this one." Eva paused in applying her lipstick, the expensive red shade she'd started wearing to work meetings. "It's important, Nathan. This could be the account that really establishes me as a senior player." I nodded sympathetically while thinking about the hotel room photos on my phone. Eva and Ethan holding hands in the lobby. Ethan's hand on her lower back as they waited for the elevator. The timestamp showing they'd stayed for 3 hours. "I'll probably be late," Eva continued. "Don't wait up." "I won't. Good luck with the presentation." She kissed my cheek, the same perfunctory gesture that had replaced real affection months ago, and left. 20 minutes later, Pete texted me. Subject leaving residence, beginning surveillance. I poured myself a large whiskey and tried to watch a baseball game, but my mind kept wandering to what Eva and Ethan were doing at that moment. Were they in bed together, laughing about how clueless her husband was? Did she tell him about our conversations, about my growing suspicions? My phone buzzed with another text from Pete. "Subjects at Chez Laurent, very cozy." Chez Laurent was the most expensive French restaurant in the city. Eva and I had talked about going there for our anniversary, but decided it was too expensive. Apparently it wasn't too expensive when Ethan was paying. At 11:30, I heard Eva's car in the driveway. I was in bed, pretending to read, when she came upstairs. "How did the presentation go?" I asked. "Really well. Ethan thinks we have a good shot at landing them." She disappeared into the bathroom to change and wash off her makeup, and probably to remove any trace of Ethan's cologne. When she came to bed, she kissed my forehead and rolled over, exhausted from her performance. "Eva," I said softly. "Hmm? Do you still love me?" She was quiet for so long I thought she'd fallen asleep. Finally, "Of course I do. Why would you ask that?" "Just wondering. Sometimes it feels like we're roommates instead of husband and wife. I'm just focused on work right now. Things will get better." But they wouldn't get better, and we both knew it. Eva had made her choice, and it wasn't me. Pete called me at work the next Friday with the news I'd been dreading and anticipating. "I've got what you need," he said. "Photos, documentation, timeline. They've been meeting regularly for at least 4 months, probably longer. Hotel rooms, restaurants, her apartment when you're at work. This isn't a casual thing, they're in deep." "Her apartment? She brought him to our home?" "3 times that I documented, always when you were at the office. I'm sorry, Nathan, I know this is hard." I felt sick. Our bed, our kitchen, our living room, all contaminated by their affair. "What happens now?" "That's up to you. You've got grounds for divorce, if that's what you want. Adultery, documentation of deception. With this evidence, you'll be in a strong position." I thanked Pete and hung up, then sat in my office staring at my computer screen without seeing it. My marriage was officially over. Eva had been cheating on me for months, bringing her lover into our home, lying to my face every single day. The question now was what I was going to do about it. I decided to confront Eva at the company's quarterly celebration party. It seemed fitting. She'd built her affair on professional success, so her professional world seemed like the right place to tear it all down. The party was at the same hotel where I'd first met Ethan, where I'd first seen the signs I'd been too trusting to recognize. This time, I came prepared. Eva looked stunning in a red dress that probably cost more than my monthly salary. She was glowing with confidence, riding high on her recent successes. She had no idea her world was about to collapse. "You look happy," I told her as we walked into the ballroom. "I am happy. Things are really coming together for me, Nathan. I feel like I'm finally becoming the person I was meant to be." The person she was meant to be. A cheater. A liar. Someone who destroyed her marriage for career advancement. "I'm proud of you," I said, and part of me meant it. I was proud of the woman she'd been before Ethan, before the affair corrupted everything good about her. The party was in full swing, with Pinnacle Solutions employees celebrating another successful quarter. I spotted Ethan across the room, holding court with a group of executives. He looked confident, untouchable, like a man who thought he'd gotten away with something. "I should go network," Eva said. "You'll be okay on your own?" "I'll be fine. Go do your thing." I watched her work the room, the same performance I'd witnessed before. But now I knew what it was. A performance. Eva playing the role of successful executive while hiding the truth of how she'd earned her position. I made my way to the bar and ordered a whiskey, then pulled out my phone and opened the folder Pete had sent me. Photos of Eva and Ethan at restaurants, entering hotels, kissing in parking garages, a complete documentation of their affair. "Nathan!" I looked up to see Vanessa Fielding approaching, elegant in a black cocktail dress. Her smile was sharp, predatory. "Vanessa, you look lovely." "Thank you. How are you enjoying the party?" "It's enlightening," I said. "I'm learning a lot about my wife's work relationships." Vanessa's smile widened. "Are you? How educational?" She knew, I was certain of it now. Vanessa knew about her husband's affair and was waiting for someone else to make the first move. "Can I ask you something?" I said. "Of course." "How long have you known?" She didn't pretend not to understand. "About 3 months. Ethan isn't as clever as he thinks he is. Late nights, unexplained expenses, new cologne. Men having midlife crises are remarkably predictable." "Why haven't you said anything?" Vanessa's laugh was cold. "Because I wanted to see how far he'd take it, and because I wanted proof. Solid, undeniable proof that would hold up in divorce court." She was playing the same game I was, gathering evidence for the inevitable confrontation. "What are you going to do?" I asked. "That depends on what you're going to do. We could coordinate our efforts, make this more impactful." I looked across the room where Eva and Ethan were standing together, their heads close as they shared some private joke. They looked happy, confident, like they thought they were untouchable. "What did you have in mind?" Vanessa's smile was genuinely frightening. Public humiliation, professional consequences. Make them face the reality of what they've done in front of everyone who matters to them. It was tempting. The idea of exposing them in front of their colleagues, of watching their carefully constructed facades crumble, appealed to the part of me that wanted revenge. But I had a better idea. I need to think about it, I told Vanessa. This is a lot. Of course. But don't think too long. I have a feeling things are about to come to a head whether we plan it or not. She was right. I could feel the tension building, the weight of secrets and lies creating pressure that would have to be released eventually. I spent the rest of the party watching Eva and Ethan, studying their interactions with new eyes. They were careful, professional in public, but I could see the signs now. The lingering looks, the casual touches, the private smiles. They thought they were being discreet, but their affair was written all over their faces for anyone who knew how to look. On the drive home, Eva was euphoric. "That went so well," she said. "Ethan thinks I'm ready for the next level. There might be a promotion coming, maybe even a transfer to the New York office. New York, 1,000 miles away from me, from our marriage, from any pretense that we had a future together." "That's quite an opportunity," I said carefully. "It is. It would mean more money, more responsibility, more everything. This could be the break I've been working toward my whole career." Working toward. As if sleeping with her boss was legitimate professional development. When would this happen? Soon, maybe next month. Ethan is putting together a proposal for the board. Ethan was planning their future together, and it didn't include me. We got home and went through our usual routine, Eva showering off the evidence of her double life, me pretending to read while processing everything I'd learned. But tonight felt different. Tonight felt like an ending. "Eva," I said as she came to bed, "we need to talk." She froze, and I saw fear flash across her face before she composed herself. "About what?" "About us. About our marriage. About what happens next." "Nathan, it's late. Can we talk about this tomorrow?" "No, we need to talk about this now." She sat on the edge of the bed, her back to me. "What do you want to talk about?" I could have confronted her then, shown her the photos, demanded explanations and apologies. But something stopped me. Maybe it was the way she looked. Small, vulnerable, caught between two lives she'd been trying to balance. "Are you happy?" I asked instead. "What do you mean?" "With me, with our marriage, with this life we've built together." Eva was quiet for a long time. When she finally spoke, her voice was barely above a whisper. "I don't know anymore." It wasn't a confession, but it was close enough. Eva didn't know if she was happy with me because she was already building a new life with someone else. "If you weren't happy, you'd tell me, right? You wouldn't just pretend everything was fine?" She turned to look at me then, and I saw guilt and sadness and something that might have been regret. "Nathan, just answer the question, Eva. If you wanted out, if you wanted something different, you'd be honest with me about it?" She looked away. "It's complicated." "It's not complicated. Either you want to be married to me or you don't. Either you love me or you don't. Either you're committed to this relationship or you're not." "I do love you," she said, but the words sounded hollow. I need time to figure things out." Time to figure things out. Time to plan her exit strategy with Ethan. Time to transition from one life to another without any messy confrontations or uncomfortable truths. How much time? I don't know, a few months maybe, until things settle down at work. Until she could leave me for Ethan without jeopardizing her career. Until she could have her cake and eat it too. "Okay," I said, "take all the time you need." Eva looked relieved, like I'd just given her permission to continue her affair without consequences. She kissed my cheek and settled into bed, falling asleep quickly with the easy rest of someone whose conscience had been temporarily soothed. But I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, planning. Eva wanted time to figure things out? Fine. I'd give her time, but I'd also give her something else. The consequences of her choices, delivered in a way she'd never see coming. My wife thought she was playing a sophisticated game, balancing two relationships while building her career. She had no idea she was about to learn what real strategy looked like. The confrontation came sooner than I'd planned, triggered by Eva's own overconfidence. I was working late on a Thursday evening when Eva called to tell me she'd be home late, another client dinner that we both knew was a lie. But this time, instead of accepting her deception, I decided to act. I drove to the Riverside Hotel, the same place Pete had photographed them weeks earlier. Eva's car was in the parking garage, parked next to Ethan's black BMW. I found a spot where I could see both vehicles and settled in to wait. They emerged 2 hours later, looking satisfied and disheveled. Eva's hair was mussed, her lipstick gone, Ethan's tie loosened. They stood between their cars, talking quietly, and I watched as Ethan pulled Eva close and kissed her deeply. Not a professional peck on the cheek, but a passionate kiss between lovers. I took photos with my phone, adding to Pete's collection. But more importantly, I felt something shift inside me. The last vestiges of hope, the small part of me that had been clinging to the possibility that I was wrong, finally died. My marriage was over. It had been over for months, probably since the affair began. I'd just been too stubborn or too scared to accept it. I followed them at a distance as they drove to a nearby restaurant, Romano's, the same place I'd suggested we celebrate Eva's success months ago. They sat at a corner table, holding hands across the tablecloth, looking like any other couple in love, except one of them was married to me. I didn't go inside. Instead, I drove home and poured myself a large whiskey, then called Pete. I need to move this along, I told him. I want to confront them, but I want to do it right. I want maximum impact. What do you have in mind? The company Christmas party is next week. Big formal affair, all the executives and their spouses. I want to expose them there, in front of everyone who matters to their careers. Pete was quiet for a moment. That's going to be messy. Are you sure you want to go nuclear? They made it nuclear when they decided to have their affair. I'm just bringing it into the open. Okay, I can have a complete package ready by then. Photos, timeline, documentation, everything you need to make your case. Good. And Pete, I want you there as backup, in case things get ugly. You got it. The next week passed in a strange calm. Eva was excited about the Christmas party, chattering about her dress and the award ceremony and the announcement of next year's promotions. She had no idea she was walking into an ambush. You seem distracted, she said on the morning of the party. Everything okay? Just thinking about work stuff, I lied. Nothing important. She kissed my cheek and left for the office, humming to herself. She was happy, confident, secure in her double life. By tonight, all of that would be shattered. I spent the day preparing. I printed copies of the photos Pete had taken, organized them chronologically, wrote a brief summary of the evidence. I wasn't going to make wild accusations or emotional scenes. I was going to present facts calmly and clearly and let them speak for themselves. The Christmas party was at the Grandview Hotel again, the same place where I'd first met Ethan and begun to understand what was happening. The ballroom was decorated with tasteful holiday displays, and the Pinnacle Solutions staff was dressed in their finest formal wear. Eva looked stunning in a silver dress that caught the light as she moved. She was in her element, networking and socializing, building the relationships that would support her career. Ethan was across the room, equally polished and confident. They were careful not to interact too much in public, maintaining professional distance, but I could see the awareness between them, the way they tracked each other's movements, the subtle glances and small smiles. I waited until after dinner, when the awards ceremony was beginning and everyone's attention was focused on the stage. Then I made my move. Ladies and gentlemen, I said, standing up at our table. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I have something important to share. The room grew quiet, hundreds of faces turning toward me. Eva looked mortified, probably thinking I was going to make some embarrassing toast or inappropriate joke. My name is Nathan Parker, and I'm Eva Parker's husband. I gestured toward Eva, who had gone pale. Eva works here at Pinnacle Solutions, and she's been having tremendous success lately. Really tremendous. Ethan was standing near the stage, his face carefully neutral, but I could see tension in his posture. I want to thank everyone who supported Eva's career, I continued, my voice carrying clearly through the silent room. Especially her boss, Ethan Fielding, who's been working very closely with her. Very, very closely. I pulled out the first photo, Eva and Ethan kissing in the hotel parking garage, and held it up for the room to see. This is from last Thursday evening, after one of their many client meetings at the Riverside Hotel. The room erupted. Gasps, murmurs, the sound of chairs scraping as people stood to get a better look. Eva was on her feet, her face white with shock and fury. Nathan, stop, she said, but her voice was lost in the chaos. I held up another photo, Ethan and Eva holding hands at Romano's. This is from the same evening, at dinner afterward. They looked so happy together. Security, Ethan shouted from across the room. Get this man out of here. But the hotel security guards were as transfixed as everyone else, staring at the photos and the unfolding drama. I have more, I said, pulling out the folder Pete had prepared. Months of documentation, hotel receipts, restaurant bills, timeline of their affair, all very thorough, very professional, just like their relationship. Vanessa Fielding was standing near the bar, and I caught her eye. She was smiling, clearly enjoying her husband's public humiliation. "Nathan, please," Eva said, tears streaming down her face. "Don't do this." "Don't do what, Eva? Tell the truth? Share the real story of your professional success?" I turned to address the room again. "I want everyone to know how hard Eva's been working. The long hours, the weekend meetings, the dedication to her boss. It's really been inspiring to watch." Ethan was pushing through the crowd toward me, his face red with rage. But Pete Kowalski appeared beside him, a large, intimidating presence that made Ethan think twice about getting physical. "You son of a bitch!" Ethan snarled at me. "You have no right." "I have every right," I said calmly. "She's my wife, or she was, until she decided to sleep with you for career advancement." The room was in chaos now, with people shouting questions, taking photos with their phones, and generally treating the whole thing like the best entertainment they'd seen in years. Eva was sobbing, her carefully constructed facade completely destroyed. The confident, successful executive was gone, replaced by a woman caught in the worst possible way. "Eva," I said, my voice gentle now, "I gave you a chance to tell me the truth. I asked you directly if you were happy, if there was something you wanted to tell me. You chose to keep lying." She looked at me through her tears, and I saw the moment she realized this wasn't a spontaneous outburst. This was planned, calculated, designed for maximum impact. "You bastard," she whispered. "Maybe," I said, "but I'm an honest bastard, which is more than I can say for you." I turned and walked toward the exit, Pete falling into step beside me. Behind us, the party had devolved into complete chaos, with Eva and Ethan at the center of a scandal that would follow them for the rest of their careers. "That was brutal," Pete said as we reached the parking garage. "It needed to be," I replied. "They thought they could play games with people's lives without consequences. Now they know better." As we drove away, I felt something I hadn't experienced in months. Relief. The lies were over, the pretending was done, and the truth was finally out in the open. My marriage was destroyed, but it had been destroyed months ago when Eva made her choice. All I'd done was make sure everyone knew about it. After the Christmas party, the affair went public, and everything collapsed fast. Eva moved out, Ethan's wife filed, and the gossip followed them everywhere. The divorce itself was clean because the evidence was undeniable. Eva kept the basics, I kept the house and most assets, and we signed without pretending there was anything left to save. Ethan got hit harder. An internal investigation found he abused his authority, so he was fired with cause and lost severance and stock options, while Eva was reprimanded, transferred, and pushed down the ladder. Their glamour turned into damage control. Months later, even their relationship didn't survive the fallout. Eva moved back home for a smaller job. Ethan struggled with his ruined reputation, and I sold the old house to start fresh. People asked if I regretted making it public, but I didn't, because they'd had months to tell the truth and chose deception instead. In the end, the harsh part wasn't the exposure. It was the honesty they refused to give until it was forced.